You're listening to the Mako Minute, the 482nd Fighter Wing podcast.
All right, team. Welcome back to another version of Custer's Corner. We've got a new face in the room today, Chief Master Sgt. Kruger, our new 42nd Fighter Wing Command Chief. We will talk to her way more here in a second. I'll throw a few announcements out. Then we'll get into her eternal love of the Buffalo Bills, which is an absolutely unfortunate item in my life now, but I guess we'll just deal with this as we have to. Sleepy Little Homestead that never goes to bed here. Just a few highlights that the Wing's been through since we talked last time. The Port Dogs have done multiple TDYs. I always say unfortunate they have to go away from Homestead to do their training, even with all the airplanes we have coming through here, but we can't schedule them appropriately. So thanks to those guys for going out and about, representing us extremely well. Just a few weeks ago, as we do every year, we hosted most of the aircraft for the Miami Air and Sea Show. Special event that time. General Wilsbach, Chief Staff of the Air Force, came down and hung out with all the maintainers out there, and that was absolutely awesome. Talk about a guy who, by the way, commissioned in 1985. I love what I do, but I don't know how you keep going, that. And he's tried a couple times because he was the PACAF commander. He was asked to become COMAC, Commander ACC, retired, and they immediately brought him back as Chief of Staff of the Air Force. So great proponent of us, which we'll get to here in a second. Again, we hosted our air show. Thanks to everybody who worked over that 3-day weekend to make that happen before and after. The Makos and 9/3 just returned Thursday evening from Wessup out at Hill and Combat Hammer, flying for 2 weeks, getting prepared for 27-1, which, as I said there, people think Homestead's a sleepy little base, but we know how much we do. And I know Chief will hit on that here in a second. Again, she's not new to the Wing, but she's back at a different view here. With that, we got to keep going. We're doing all those things, as you see. We're still preparing for 27.1. If you do the math with no July UTA, that really leaves 4 UTA days, 6 if you include October. And I expect and hope everyone's done, by September UTA, so that October is a little more free for you guys. Keep working your items. Don't sit on issues and hoping they're fixed. You got to raise them, and we're going to fight for them. Because those who are deploying, the 600 or so, my goal here is the 1,000 or more that aren't, we're going to absolutely provide you with a concierge service, if you will, as you head out of town to make sure we take care of you and you can not be stressed on those little things. So we've hosted a spouse symposium not too long ago. We'll do another one to make sure that all of your significant others know the best we can what to expect. And I will emphasize, and I'll tell you as you're listening what I told your spouses. I will dime you out immediately if you're not getting the information to them. Wills, power of attorneys, as Chief says, wills and bills. I say passwords to everything you need to help do that, because we all know the toilet's going to flood and the roof's going to leak as soon as you leave town. So we'll make sure your family's taken care of. And there's a lot of information coming out there with QR codes to help them. The big announcement is, if you guys haven't heard, it's been on the socials. We were put on the candidate list for Ops 15, which is the F-35. That's in the early 30s. Many years to go. Cool part is it's a candidate list, but there's one person on that candidate list, and that's Homestead Air Reserve Base. So unless something significantly changes, we have the F-35 coming our way, and that's absolutely awesome. With that, that's a few quick moments. Please enjoy your summer. We won't do this in July because there's no UTA. Come back ready to run hard in August, as we always do, to finish up those things as we guys send you out the door. With that, we will officially introduce Chief Kelly Kruger. Let her talk about some announcements. I know she probably wants to get out in some of her focus items, and then we'll get a little in depth about who she is, where she's from, and the Buffalo Bills. Chief?
Boss, thank you. I don't know if you had asked me about the Buffalo Bills during the interview, but
I didn't, because if I had, I'd probably be talking to someone else right now, but that's okay.
But you have a winner on your team.
Yeah.
No, thank you so much for the introduction. It is great to be here. Greetings, Makos, and great to be back. I was here in 2020 to 2022 as the Mission Support Group SCL during the COVID years. So I'm very, very happy, honored, and privileged to be back here serving you all for the next few years. I had applied for the position in October, and I knew several things in October. as reservists, being in the Air Force Reserve, it's about timing, opportunity, and fit. And I knew I wanted to stay on the East Coast. I knew I wanted to be a command chief. And I knew I wanted to stay in AGR and serve somewhere very, very special. And this was the place. I saw a wing that was gaining a lot of momentum. I was already tracking the incredible F-16 mission and the potential transition to F-35s. So it was just an incredible opportunity, and most important, I saw the people, and I already knew the people from when I served here in 2020, and it's about the people. So I'm just very honored to be back. And my mission is, and my responsibility is to serve the people, and that's what I'm here to do.
Yeah. For the crowd, we don't get into details of an interview. The reason I hired Kelly is I instantly knew she was human. And, she'd been here in the wing before, in the trenches, and now, as they call us, up here in the Crystal Palace. But I'll tell you, she has been out and about and in all of your units, I believe, by now. Don't be shocked when she just shows up. That's what she does. She gets out and about for that. But I want you guys to realize she's a human, and she's had life experiences that brings things here that makes her humble, and the credibility behind that. A little career progression we can talk about here, where you came from, most recently to here. But are there any, let's just, before we get into your leadership philosophies, who is Kelly? Where she grew up, family, kids, things of that nature. Let them get to know you a little bit.
Yeah, let's go way back to little Kelly Kruger, born and raised in Buffalo, New York. Grew up very blue-collar family. Catholic, and 2 brothers, older brother, he's 3 years older than me, and a twin brother. And really, my childhood, our life surrounded, or really what we did was Buffalo sports, so Buffalo Bills and Buffalo Sabres. Our lives revolved around Buffalo sports. And yes, I watched us lose 4 Super Bowls in a row, which was devastating. But we're back in it. This is the season. I promise you.
I'm an Atlanta Falcon, so I really got I've got nothing to brag about.
There
so
you go.
You're good.
So yeah, our lives revolved around our childhood, revolved around watching Buffalo sports, playing sports. Played soccer, basketball, softball, you name it. I played it. We were always outside, even in the snow. Our lives revolved around snowstorms and shoveling and figuring out how to have fun outside. And came from a big family. My mom has 6 brothers and sisters, so my extended family is huge. So we're always just with family, hanging out with cousins. Fast forward to high school. Didn't really have a plan after high school. Serving in the military doesn't run in the family. My twin brother at the time, as we were graduating high school, he had thought about joining the Marines. And knowing I didn't have a plan, going to college was just not something we talked about. All my friends were going to universities, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So my brother said, "Hey, Kelly, why don't you join the Air Force Reserve?" And I'm like, "What's that?" And he tells me about it, and I said, "Why not?" So the next day, I called the recruiter, and 6 months later, I was off to basic training. First time away from home, shy, introvert, Kelly Kruger. I prayed the entire rosary every night, thinking, "What did I do? How did I get myself into this?" But that decision changed my life, and it ultimately gave me purpose and gave me more family. So I started out in my Air Force Reserve career at Niagara Falls Air Reserve Station, born and raised in Buffalo. 8 years services. I had 2 choices. I had aircrew field equipment, AFE, and which back then was life support, or services. And the recruiters did a very, very good job of selling services to me. Food service, setting up kitchens in the field, lodging, fitness and recreation, sports. Oh, yeah, all that sounds great. So 8 years, and it was such an honor to be in that services flight. I had a superintendent who really just modeled great leadership, and I wanted to be that leader in my career. So I spent 8 years, and there in every assignment there's been a few experiences that really stood out. And number one being at the 914th in Niagara Falls, we were a family. We were a tight-knit group that really looked out for each other. We had a deployment in there. A deployment always reminds us of our why, of our purpose. Everything we did, we trained so hard, we did together, and we grew together. Also, we had the mortuary mission at Niagara Falls, and it was that mission that reminded me very, very quickly that there are people and families behind these uniforms. Also, about 4 years in, I had to attend Silver Flag. So every 4 years, it's a requirement for services members to attend Silver Flag. And I went there, and I was just blown away. I saw these really cool instructors wearing these cool black hats, working out in the field, fixing burners, setting up tents, setting up kitchens, running contingency operations, running exercises. And I just wanted to be a part of it. I loved the environment, I loved the culture, and I loved what I was seeing. So it was just a matter of time until I got my 7 level to where I was hired as an instructor. So that was about 8 years in. After that 4 years where I realized that's what I wanted to do, I was able to take advantage of an opportunity to be there for support so I could help the instructors and learn the ropes while I was there. I did that for about 8 to 12 months. And also after, about 7 or 8 years in is when they advertised an AGR position as an instructor. I knew that meant moving away from home for 4 years, but I was just so excited to do it. I had that goal. After that 4 years, my first time there, I knew it's what I wanted to do and just had to wait for the opportunity. So that was 4 years in, and again, it just opened my eyes. I studied relentlessly about readiness and contingency operations and force support and the services career field. I wanted to be the best instructor that training site had ever seen. I really pushed myself. I learned everything I could. I studied TTPs, tech manuals, AFIs, anything I could find, I studied. And learned so much. And in that 4 years, when that tour was nearing an end, I was like, okay, well, what's next? Now I need something more challenging. At the time, remembering my services superintendent and kind of wanting to be like him, there was an opportunity open at Wright Pat at the 445th Sustainment Services flight for a superintendent.
Okay, I think that's a good transition point. So with that, sounds like, twin brother Marines didn't know what you wanted to do or why or things of that. You went to the Air Force. So you may not have had a why initially. Mm-hmm. But so if an airman comes to you and goes, why'd you join? Can you go back that far and had a why other than, I didn't know, I just wanted to do something? But it sounds like in that 8 years and then your instructor, you really developed a why. Because it's a lead-in question.
Yeah,
for something else here in a second. What became your why in that first, well, I guess about 8 to 12 years? What was it? Why is it?
I needed purpose.
Okay.
I needed purpose in my life. I didn't know what that was. Sometimes people don't know now what their purpose is. And I think throughout every single assignment, I have been reminded of my purpose. Leaving Silver Flag, so after 4 years, in the 445th, I was like, okay, I know all of this readiness information. I've trained this. I've taught this. And I also stepped outside my comfort zone, being in front of a classroom, speaking, introvert, shy Kelly Kruger. I always do things that are very hard for me. I wanted to now apply it. As an instructor, you have students there that are there for 6 or 7 days, and you don't really get to see the results and the impact of the work that you're doing. You just hope they take it back to their unit. This was an opportunity for me to take what I have learned and everything I did for those last 4 years, really 12 years of my career, and apply it to a unit. Now I'm the one leading and I'm the one in control. And that services flight at the 445th, they had just struggled through an ORI. And I remember somebody asking, I think it was my functional, like, why right Pat? And I'm like, well, I believe I could turn it around. I believe I can. So we did. Here I was, a tech sergeant going into a senior master sergeant position, which was already a challenge. Okay, I know how to do and I know how to train, but do I know how to lead? So that was my first true leadership challenge. And I had up to about 30 airmen, so 20 authorizations, so about 30 airmen. And they were all somewhat young. I still call them my kids. We still all follow each other. For any services members that are listening or will listen, I call us misfits. We're services misfits. And I feel like we had started out as misfits, just trying to figure it all out. Like we all grew together. And then we started winning. We trained really, really hard, and we became a family. We took advantage of so many opportunities. We never passed up opportunities to train and to develop. And we all grew together. And about 4 years after that, the FSS commander was hiring a new chief. And I think he was surprised I was interested. And he had asked, well, why would you want this responsibility? Why do you want this job? And I said, well, I believe I have a lot to offer. Throughout my entire career, I've never said no to things. Every additional duty, UDM, UTM, emergency manager, everything. SAPM, WIT. I was always assigned those additional duties and just ran with them. So I became very, very resourceful, and I just wanted more responsibility. And I think he appreciated the confidence that I was going to bring a lot to the table, and he saw what we did in services, and he said, whatever you did there, I want you to do for the squadron. And we did. Again, we trained hard. We really built a great team, and we won a lot. About 2.5 years into that assignment, I had made a phone call to AFRC A1, and it was an unrelated question, just about evaluations or something. And I was talking to the chief enlisted manager at the time. This was, 2016, 2017. And she was like, yeah, I'm going to be retiring. Would you think about applying for my position? And I didn't even know if she was serious, but I said, heck no. Nope, don't want to work there. So finished the conversation, hung up the phone, and I don't know why, but I came back to that moment and thought, why not? I want to peek behind the curtain. I want to know what happens there. So a few months go by, and applied and was hired.
So we'll take that snip, because you guys heard she joined to find purpose, right? And it sounds like she found purpose. And I'm just going to throw this sticky on the wall. I bet one of her primary goals is to help you guys find purpose.
Yeah.
Whatever that is. She's not going to tell you what your purpose is, but I bet she can help you find it. So you hear her mention why, right? We got to define the why, know the why, understand the why. And that's where I think I interviewed 5 chiefs before I interviewed Kelly last. And our interview quickly turned into a conversation. Mm-hmm. Which, again, I go back to, she's human, she's real, and she's out and about. And in her period as an instructor, you guys have heard me say faith, family, mission. The first part of being mission success is an expert in your AFSC. So we hit on that in her interview as well, with her expertise in instruction, specific to services, silver flag, things like that. But I know she knows if you're having questions to become an AFSC expert, she can help guide you down that path. She's
Absolutely.
already become a mentor of mine in my why. So that's huge in this first probably about half of your career.
Yeah.
You've gone from big word, nothing, to a purpose. Now you're like, why? So now I've kind of got why you joined, which this is the long, never ending question. And please wrap this in wherever you want, because as you progress going up to Africa, why do you continue to serve? And that's, you don't have to answer that yet, because I see airmen. Why'd you join? Yeah, newcomers. When I see people in their second, third tour, I'm like, why do you keep doing this? That's what I want to know. That's what intrigues me for that. So, and she mentioned, now we'll jump back into your first portion up at Africa, because I talk about seeing behind the curtain, and I've thrown a lot of spears uphill, and then I've learned about me. I had a new commander one time. I was running the squadron as an interim. He took over, and I was just throwing spears at this guy. Why this? Why that? Why can't blah, blah, blah. Then I became a commander. After about a month, I called him and apologized and said, dude, I had no idea. I have now seen behind that curtain. My point there is there's always another curtain to see behind, and you may not quite know why they're doing that. But I also say it's the fault of the staff when they don't help us understand why.
Yep.
If they're trying to recommend something to us, their job is to work for us. Now that they've seen behind that curtain, and they can help explain that. So maybe you can touch on that as you start that first wide open, eye experience looking behind that curtain of in this case, Africa, because they owe it to us to explain
absolutely.
why they recommend something. Again, there's always a curtain to see behind. And so that's why I go back to humility, humble portion of my career when I had to apologize to a guy and go, I had no idea. Now I understand why, but I'm trying to do better and let my airmen know this is why we're doing things.
Thanks, boss. Yeah, every position I've been in, I feel like when I share those experiences, my growth game had to get strong very quick in each of those. And for every assignment, I feel like I've grown into, I was forced to grow into somebody I wasn't yet. And there's a thrill in that. So going to AFRCA 1, my growth game had to get quick. I was a services misfit, the mother of all misfits, I say, for 18 years. And it was all, training and readiness and being out in the field, deployments in there too. And then I retrained to personnel by virtue of being the FSS SEL. So I had called myself an imposter personnelist. So I had to learn it very quick. I had to learn strategic communication, headquarters politics, taskers, how to interpret policy. All of that I had to learn very quick. So it was here I was 18 years services, just retrained to personnel. And oh, by the way, I was not only the chief enlisted manager, but also the personnel MatchCom functional manager.
And we all love A1 so much.
Yeah, so I learned so much, and I also learned what it means when an organization becomes the focal point for every personnel action that takes place across Air Force Reserve. And how important that organization is. And we took spears.
Yep.
There were wins, and I would say there were more spears than wins. And it was humbling. I will say that 3 years was probably the most humbling, and it was chaotic. And what could you do? I felt like sometimes in an environment where you really want to thrive, sometimes you felt like you were just surviving because I was taking spears. And part of that was growing pains, for sure. And it was that time or near the end of that tour when I really looked in the mirror and said, I want to show up better. How can I thrive in these environments? Because not every environment is going to be perfect. And so that's when I started, doing life coaching and emotional intelligence. My environment that I surrounded myself with was about learning and growth, because there were many interactions that were favorable and great, and then there were some that I definitely wish I could take back.
Yeah, I learned on staff, not throwing an excuse for Afric. I think when I was at ACC, we figured out there's one staffer for every 100 people in ACC. There's one staffer for every 700 people in Afric. So there's a lot to do. However, there is so much stuff, I think, that passes through staff and gets to the unit level for decision, or not for decision, but for work. Is unsatisfactory. Absolutely unsatisfactory. There's so much that should stop at staff and not make it to the unit. The unit has, I will say, real stuff to do. With that, though, they should handle a lot of things, but they should make the final decisions before talking to that unit. I call that the great disconnect and divide between staff and the reality of running a wing, an organization, a unit. They should get recommendations and thoughts before they recommend a decision higher up, but too much stuff passes through.
Absolutely.
Sidebar there.
Yep.
But as you've gone through that, if we hit the why, the progression, the purpose, I know it changes, right? And we'll get to why now. You've hit on mentorship and leadership. You mentioned that a few minutes ago.
Yes. Going back to AFRC, part of it is clarity too. I want to talk about clarity and communication. I wish AI existed, or AI tools existed back then, because even now I still read emails, strategic communication emails, and I got to drop them in AI to even understand them. And this is a services person. I speak, for anyone that knows me, I speak very simply. And when I explain things in the most basic manner, because that is how I understand them. So I believe there is an opportunity to provide more clarification.
And we even have a strategy office, a Stratcom office in Afric. Here's what I tell folks when they come to me and I'm helping them with this. You have 5 minutes to tell me everything.
Yes.
Because I only have 3 minutes for General Merrill, who has 1 minute with General Healy. If you can't do that, we need to figure that out.
Yeah, exactly.
And I will put things in AI. One, I'll type a lot of emails. I'll say, make it sound nicer, because I can come across a little mean on that. But I'll also say, I did one recently that says, I have to summarize this because I have 1 minute with a 3-star.
Yes.
And it gave me 3 bullet points with the emphasis, and we pressed. So if you take that mentality, AI is good, trust but verify, give it the parameters. Don't let it take your own cognitive ability to think and write, but it can help you for the audience intended that you need to get it across to.
Yes, it does. If I don't understand it, I drop it in and say, what does this mean in its most simplest terms, and how does this impact my airmen? So mentorship and leadership, yeah. So in 2020, as I was nearing the end of that tour, I was like, man, I struggled, and I just wanted to be better. So I just started taking in as much as I can to be better and applying it. It's one thing to consume leadership knowledge in classes and courses and podcasts and reading and books. It's another to actually apply it. I think there's opportunity for us in the Air Force to get better at that too.
We don't do a great job teaching people.
No.
We wait till you're in the position, then expect you to step in and be perfect.
Yep.
We fell. Getting better than it was when I started 27 years ago. We're not there yet.
Yeah. So leaving there, my family and I wanted to stay in Georgia. Wanting to stay in Georgia meant, change participation statuses. So I had flipped back and forth between TR, AGR, ART for 7 years, and then back to AGR. So we wanted to stay in Georgia. We were fostering children, and the opportunity at Homestead was open. Coach Bluto was here. Thank you, Coach, if we're going to listen to this. So I wanted to be a group SEL. We had just laid in a bunch of group SEL positions throughout the command. And it also meant starting a new civilian position at Robins. So I was hired as the operations officer at the active duty FSS there, where I was there for about 6 months and then transitioned back to AFRC Manpower. So Coach hired me here in the mission support group, and I fell in love with Homestead. I was always, even though I was born and raised in Buffalo and from the north, I was always sort of a Florida girl. Anytime I was down south or backfilling at a base down south, I have family in Jacksonville, so I was always there, and always loved coming to Florida. So an opportunity when it was open here, I jumped on it and was so grateful that Coach and the team hired me. It was a great experience. Unfortunately, it was during COVID, so didn't see everybody all the time because we were running around in masks or we were sick.
So let me ask, sorry to interrupt. I've been doing an informal survey for the 2 years I've been here. When people you worked with at Afric found out you were applying for Homestead, what did they say? Oh, be honest. What did they say? Supportive, or oh my God, why are you going down there?
No, it was probably in between. Mm-hmm. It was probably in between. But I've gotten that in a few assignments, a few positions I've applied for, and I always respond with, "I'm gonna love it."
Yep, and that's awesome.
I'm gonna love it.
I have found about 2/3 of people I talked to recently when we hosted something here. They said, "Oh, this place is actually awesome."
Yes.
Well, why did you not think? Well, so and so told me. Well, had so and so ever been here? Well, no, they heard it from so and so. I have found those who say negative have actually never been here.
Yeah.
And I heard it a lot from ACC.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was, found out I was coming here, people were like, "Oh goodness, I got here, dude. I'm so emotionally invested in this place."
Yeah.
It is awesome. So
it could maybe be one interaction and then it turns into a bias and
Yep.
and then they start talking about it. But I loved it, and being the first group SCL in the mission support group, it was just a great opportunity, and we had a blast. So during that time, I also applied to be a command chief. I didn't really know if that was a goal of mine early in my career. It was always just being the best I could be and helping people. And but I knew some had doubted me being a command chief, so it was a little chip on my shoulder. So I had applied, made the screening list, and it just so happened it was a coincidence that 3 wings that I wanted to serve at, because it's about location and timing too, were advertised, and it was the 315th Charleston, the 927th MacDill, and the 920th at Patrick. And I had my order, and I had called Jim Loper, the Godfather, and asked.
I know old Jim.
And asked him his advice. He had worked at the Chiefs group. I'm like, I need to apply for all 3, because I would love to serve at any one of them. He goes, well, the first one that selects you, you're going to take it. And right away, within that same weekend, the 927th said, hey, we're going to interview you. Are you available tomorrow? Absolutely. And the next day I interviewed and found out that afternoon, and I was actually here for UTA weekend. And it was probably one of the best 9-hour drives I had going back to Georgia. It was awesome. I was at MacDill for about a year and a half, about 18 months, and I loved it. I mean, how can you not love the 927th? Just a great mission. People take pride in what they do there, and it's in Tampa. We were just gaining so much momentum there, but then life happened, and like life circumstances, I had to make some decisions and get back to Georgia full time. So at that point, after about a year and a half of being a command chief, I had to cut that tour short and make some decisions. And the PDC SEL position was open at Robins at headquarters, and that was really a dream job of mine. Going back to Silver Flag, being in a classroom and in that learning and educational environment. And this time it was not teaching contingency ops and field operations and training and readiness, UTCs, tip fed, you name it, we taught it. It was teaching leadership. And
First time I went there, I could have done better by going to Walmart for 5 days. Last time I went there, the entire curriculum and everything has absolutely changed to professional. So before we jump fully into that, I talked to your previous wing commander at MacDill, and he only validated what I was already going to choose anyway. I think it was his 3rd command tour. You're one of his 7 command chiefs he had. He said you were absolutely the best he ever had. That just validated, what I was already making a decision to do. And then I questioned him, dude, how'd you run through 7 chiefs? But that's a different one. And before I forget this, for anyone listening, or tens of people who listen, the PDC has a SharePoint. Okay, they have a website. It is a repository of information between senior NCO, chiefs, slot, senior leader orientation training type things, commander schools. It has all the PowerPoints on there. It has all the AFIs. It has the commander's handbook, which is in-flight guide of all the things you need to know. And that's good for any airman because knowledge is power, right?
Yes.
And when you go to have a conversation with your flight chief or something you'd help, you may already have the reference in red. I used to teach people when I taught at the A-10 schoolhouse for years, their requirement was to read the black and the white. They need to put the effort to know the AFI, know the TO, know those things. My job is comprehension and then application for them. So the PDC has an amazing SharePoint. I looked at it last week for something because I forgot something. Go find it.
Yeah.
It's getting better, but there is so much information in there that helps. We're all leaders in our own area that can really give you just a wealth of knowledge, or at least spur a topic or spur the question you didn't even know you needed to ask.
Yeah, it really has grown. I believe in the next couple of years, Chief Dennis is there now, and I believe in a couple of years we'll see more exportable content, even through DAFI learning from the PDC.
Good.
Junior Matthews, yes, thank you. He's amazing. What a great commander. So there I was in the PDC, still navigating through life's curveballs, and then figuring out also how to stand up in that classroom and teach chiefs how to be leaders. And I loved it. It was, again, my growth game had to get quick. It had to get strong very quick. It was the professional development center. So it was about getting the right people on the team and just moving the needle and making it better. I believe we improved all the courses and really transformed it to adult learning, which is knowledge is power, and now we want you to apply that knowledge here in the classroom. Great experience, and that's what led me here. So in October, I knew I wanted to
Did it lead you here first or to your own podcast first?
I'm not allowed to talk about that. No, I did. So October, yeah, for all the airmen here, for all the Makos, I mean, one thing I will always say is to do hard things, and everybody's hard is different. In mine, as an introvert, and kind of being very much like introspective and being in my head a lot, it was I wanted to do a very hard thing, and it was talking. And I felt like I needed to talk. My partner was deployed at the time, and so I was like, who's going to be my emotional outlet? Who can I talk to now? And I could only FaceTime my mom so much until she's like, Kelly, come on. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to get a microphone and get some software and just start talking about life and growth and leadership. And it started, and still doing it today. And it's going well. And really it's really just about talking about normal things. We are humans. We are not perfect. But we know that growth is on the other side of discomfort. And it's just about understanding neuroscience and why we do the things that we do, why we respond or we react certain ways. And so it's about growth. We say it's about growth, the messy and the beautiful, and also how to be better people and leaders.
Yep, and just like all podcasts, these are not official records of the Air Force or their
No.
direction or guidance. These are our opinions that are based on years of experience
Yes.
that we've been through.
Yeah.
So just had to throw that out there. So then comes down here.
So, yes, came down here. Like I said in the beginning, I knew a few things in October, and it was I wanted to be a command chief again. I wanted to be in a wing because I had been at headquarters, for a second tour. And it was about location and timing and a great fit. And I already had a relationship with this wing and the people in this wing. And the future is so bright. And it was gaining momentum and already tracking the potential F-35 transition. And it was really about the people. And I really look at this as being the capstone of my career. When I look at the last 3 decades, almost 30 years I have served, I see 4 out-of-state moves, 9 assignments, countless mentors, and many, many lessons learned. And the greatest gift of all of that is my 6-year-old that I was able to adopt 3 years ago.
Awesome. Yeah, he was when he was here the other week. Boy, he loves his mom. So that just shows you what a great human Kelly is. So kids will tell you the truth real quick. So he's a sport.
Bless him. He is a Leo. Very, very energetic. Star of the show. Yes, he teaches me more than I teach him. He's amazing.
Right, so that shows you right there. We've got a chief. So, who's human? I've said it. Her why has developed. She's developed purpose, helping you now find yours. In that, not giving you your answer, but help guide you towards your answer with a lot of support. I've given her not an insurmountable task, but one that I'm in awe of how she's already accomplishing it. Be here for a few months. Establish what she wants for your airmen. I'll have her hit that here in a minute, a list of what she's seen real quick or her goals, but then transition real quick because she's going with you guys 27.1 for 6 months. If it's 6 months, we'll call it 7, by the time you're back with leave, and then jump right back into this again to lead this wing because she knows 1,000 people are not going. So she has airmen, big A, civilians, contractors, all our folks who are here, that her influence will still be through with who she's going to, recommend, really choose to be her stay-in while she's gone. So what an amazing human. Wow. Going through the joys and the pains, the joys of the deployment, watching you guys grow, but the pain of leaving her family as well. So right there with you guys for that. She's, which again, as we talked about this interview, that's why I instantly knew this was who was going to be y'all's next command chief. With that, as we wind this down, you've been here for a minute, right? You've probably had a list of goals. I should, if I'm ever. Have they transitioned? If you had a top few, what have you been telling folks as you're out and meeting them that your goals for them are, so that we get it on record and we can always refer back to it when we forget?
Yes, great question. We're going to flush this out even more here probably the next couple of weeks. First of all, I look forward to the deployment. As a command chief, especially a new command chief, I probably have 1 to 2 minutes with groups of airmen in the wing, and you try to get out and about and connect with them as much as possible, but also balance, the responsibility and other things. So I look forward to seeing them execute the mission and be reminded of the why and the purpose. They've gone through a lot the last couple of years. They're very proud of the work that they do. I see the pride in all of them. So I look forward to seeing them execute the mission on behalf of our nation. They've trained very, very hard the last couple of years, the last few years. And I look forward to connecting them on a deeper level than here at home station. So I've been here a month, I think it's just about a month. I don't waste any time. I want to talk to people. I want to meet people. And my responsibility, which I've told the boss before, I don't take it lightly. There are almost 2,000 members in this wing, and thousands of family members connected to our Makos. And that's a responsibility I don't take lightly. And I'm responsible for their training, their readiness, their well-being, and I take that very seriously. So as I've gotten to know a lot of people, and I've visited probably almost every organization, it might only be for a few minutes, but I try to get out and about. And before, making any priorities or plans, it's really about listening to where you all need me. Because I am here to serve you. So there's been great conversations and great interactions. And right off the bat, I'm going to say I'm very, very impressed with everybody and what I've seen. Somebody had mentioned this last week when they kind of described coming to work here, and it's like coming to work with your cousins. It's like coming to work with your family. You don't see that often, and we have something really, really special here, and it's a very, very strong foundation. So it's really about how do we strengthen that foundation, build upon it, and see the results of the work that we're doing. So as we've gone around, I would say my main three that we'll be building some lines of effort from. First one, first and foremost, we're a warfighting organization, and it's about being ready 24/7. I love football. I compare what we do to football a lot. There's a lot of analogies in teamwork and strategy and winning. But we don't have an off season. We have a cycle, but the enemy really doesn't care about what phase we're in. So it's about being ready 24/7, not just in executing the mission, but it's mind, body, craft. General Minahan had this program years ago, and it was called Warrior Heart. And it was about being strong in mind, body, craft, and always being ready. And that has never left me when he shared that program. So it's, what does that look like for all of us? And it's the competencies, they're all out there. Our competencies exist, but it's about strengthening those. When we win the next fight, it's going to be about our readiness and being able to make decisions, adapt quickly, being resilient, and being able to think on our feet. And all that is readiness. And part of readiness is development, and that will be a second line of effort. We already have great development here, but we'll look at making it more deliberate for each of the tiers. When I view leadership in an organization, I typically view it through the lens of the command teams, through the lens of a triad team, so the commander, SCL, and first sergeant, and making sure that those are strong. And we have strong leadership teams in place here. I'm excited about it. But it's making sure that they are in lockstep together. I believe if there's not a first sergeant or SCL in an organization, or not a strong SCL or a strong first sergeant, that is a unit at risk. So it's about making sure that they are all strong and developed and growing. And then that next tier would be flight chiefs, and then NCOs and supervisors and airmen, and really having deliberate development programs in place for all of them. And then the third is culture. And you've heard me talk about culture so much. And in order to be ready 24/7 and be in season 24/7, and to be in a place where you're going to grow and develop, the culture has to be there. You can have a lot of willpower, I believe that, but environment will oftentimes trump willpower. So it's setting that culture. And I always go back to 4 things when I talk about culture, and it's standards, trust, accountability, and care, and to have all 4. Luckily for us, the standards already exist. They're all written out there in AFIs and our core values, and it's about holding each other accountable to that. And you can't have an organization without trust and care. Trust is the foundation of any strong organization. So it's really about bringing those 3 together: readiness, development, and culture. And we're going to build some lines of effort on there and really track our progress. I believe that just moving the needle, and when people can leave here on a UTA stronger and better, then we've done our jobs.
Awesome. You mentioned General Minihan. If you guys don't know him, retired as Commander of Air Mobility Command. Lives up the road, by the way, in Tampa area.
Wow.
Talk about a warrior and leader. I got to know him last year. He went through prostate cancer, a little over a year ago, and he helped guide me through mine, not too many months ago. So amazing warrior leader in person.
Yes,
A couple things I heard in here that I'll highlight, and we'll wrap it up. Talk about team and family. You can't put that on paper, how you define it. And once people get down here, they begin to understand it. Mm-hmm. And you've hit that. What else? Leadership is never a burden, but it can be heavy. And it's heavy if you care. I can tell you Chief Kruger cares. So we've definitely got one that's on our side for that. So with that, anything else you'd like to leave the team with? Because we got a winner here, guys, and it's going to be awesome over the next few years with it.
No, I look forward to seeing everybody in August. I wish I could see you. I wish we had a July UTA so I could see them. No. Enjoy the time with your families. This has been an honor. It's a privilege to be here, and I look forward to serving you all in the next few years and do hard things.
Awesome. With that, guys, Custer's out. We'll see you on campus.
That about wraps it up for this episode. If you'd like more content from the 42nd Fighter Wing, be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram. We'll see you next time on the Mako Minute.